You know, there was a joke in the 1990s that Palm Springs was celebrating the gay 90s because if you lived in Palm Springs, you were either gay or 90. Well, it's no longer the 90s, but the issue of being gay and gray is becoming a real issue. Our next two guests, besides being longtime friends of mine personally, just to come out, are taking part in a new movement, senior living for the LGBT community. Gary, Tom, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
So
to be
now,
here.
first of all, let's talk about you as a couple. How long have you been lucky enough to be together?
Tom, did we figure this out?
Well, 45 years and counting.
Wow, and yeah, and so was that from when you first met, or of course, you didn't have marriage then?
That's
No,
right.
no, they
That was
hadn't
the only
even
way
thought
you
of it.
could count it.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that was a special day.
right. And where did you all meet?
At a place in the Tenderloin called the Gilded Cage,
Oh,
where, for those people who are old enough will remember, Charles Pierce used to appear.
wow.
And so we met at a Charles Pierce show at the Gilded Cage.
And now, tell me if I'm right, because I met Charles in the late 1980s when he was doing his, as he called it, his 73rd final show at the Plush Room then, that he would swing out over the audience in the Gilded Cage.
Oh yes, that's right.
Absolutely.
It's singing San Francisco.
Wow.
And it was pretty exciting. As many times as I'd seen it, it was always a thrill.
Yeah, his jokes were always the same. I think my favorite was he always used to say, I'm on a tour de force. That is, I'm being forced to tour. And people would laugh all the same.
And his Betty Davis jokes were the same, and his Tallulah Bankhead jokes were the same.
Yeah.
He had a routine.
Yeah.
But he was
Yes.
talented.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, from that first meeting at the Gilded Cage, tell us about both your personal and your professional careers.
Well, my career was in computer sciences. I had just started in a new position, and I was living in the city. I just moved to the city recently. That summer of love, 1967, great year. And I had been doing that for a short time, and then I met this guy, and when we finally sort of got everything organized, we moved over to Sausalito for a couple of years and lived on his boat, which was a lot of fun. For a kid in my 20s, that was really exciting.
Right. And how about you? You weren't the computer guy.
I was not the I was the radio broadcasting guy, as you know.
Yeah.
David and I was in radio broadcasting and had been doing that for about 10 or 11 years, put a station on the air back in 1957 and ran it until about the late 60s. Tom and I both reached a point where we'd sort of been very busy and maybe too busy in San Francisco and wanted to get away from it a bit. So we moved to Calistoga, which was before the world had discovered the Napa Valley.
Yeah.
So we moved there. We've lived there ever since. Came back to a place in San Francisco later, so for a while we've had two. But this is why the Calistoga connection is so perfect for the Santa Rosa connection, which is where Fountaingrove Lodge is.
Right. You know, sometimes when I'm stuck in traffic up in Napa on a weekend with friends, I wish the world hadn't discovered Napa. But it has become a world-class destination and a place where a lot of us, gay men, lesbian women, members of the transgender and bisexual community now call home, and it wasn't always welcoming. But to your point, Fountaingrove is a really first-of-its-kind community. It's not only a welcoming community for the LGBT community, it's all about the LGBT community.
Absolutely.
Talk to me a little bit about that.
The people who are developing it are named the Gallaghers, Bill and Cindy Gallagher. They've developed 30 retirement communities around the state of California, as I understand it. And they have raised children who they brought to this country from foreign countries and realized what it's like to be an outsider. They've seen it with their own children who were whatever their nationalities were. And they felt that it was time to do something for the gay and lesbian community.
So very much, these are what we would call our straight allies.
Very ally, very straight and very much allies, yes.
And what was it about the concept of Fountaingrove? Because it's still being built, correct? It's not there yet.
No.
That made you say, one, I'm ready for retirement, and two, this is where I want to retire. And I guess the third part of that question, vamp on what does retirement mean to you? Because you guys have never been inactive.
Well, that's true, but you know, it's a retirement community. Fountaingrove Lodge is a retirement community, but to me, it's a retirement resort because it's everything is done in very good style. Beautiful pool and hot tub and gorgeous dining room with a view that looks out over the Sonoma Valley area. It has the only gay bar in Santa Rosa. I think that's kind of exciting, right there in our house. And
anyone can come to that.
Well, no, it is open to guests.
But guests, I mean, my husband and I can come for, you know, a martini.
You can be our guest anytime.
Yeah, great.
Yes,
Just
and
checking.
You're invited. You're invited.
Just checking,
You're
yeah.
invited, David. So, yes.
So it's resort living. It's not retirement living. Now, where does the line draw there? I don't know. It depends on how active you are, I suppose. But I'm anticipating a few good years, so I'm excited.
And we had decided we were anticipating a few more good years, but you don't know how many more good years. And there's a lot of places that won't take you when your health is deteriorating, has deteriorated. So we wanted to do something with some foresight to find a place to live where we would be comfortable, where we could still totally enjoy it. And Fountaingrove Lodge didn't find us, we found it. We'd been hearing about this place called Fountaingrove Lodge in Santa Rosa and hadn't really known where it was until we went to another community that these same developers have in Santa Rosa, and they said, oh, you should be looking at Fountaingrove. And that's another one of our developments that's coming along.
Right.
And that's how we found it.
Do you think this is the beginning of a trend? I mean, there was a time when being out, I mean, when you boys met in the 50s, I don't imagine it was as easy as now being out. So you've seen a shift during your entire life together. But now that we're actually talking on TV about a gay retirement or resort living facility, it's kind of earth-shattering.
It's time. The time has come. The people who made the gay movement happen back in the 60s and the 70s are now, they were 20 and 25 and 30 then, they're now 60, 70. Where are there? It's a real problem for the community in a way. As you know, there's many projects that are in the talking stage of finding retirement communities for senior citizens.
Right.
And this is just one of the many that are going to be part of a trend. Yes.
Right.
Yes, I would agree.
So do you see yourself as a pioneer?
Yes. But you know, I have to say, David, I've always seen myself as something of a pioneer, just having lived through the period of time that I've lived.
Yeah. What do you think is the greatest misunderstanding about, well, I remember years ago when I wrote for The Advocate, I interviewed someone that had founded an organization that he called then Galaxy, which was an acronym for gay and lesbian for the experienced of years. He didn't want to say seniors and elders. I loved that. So I've always liked it, as I'm getting now very close to being experienced in years. What are some of the misunderstandings about specific issues that face LGBT seniors and elders?
There's life out there.
Yeah.
You know, you're not dead yet, and you can still be as young as you choose to be. And I think being gay, not having children, not having the obligations of family, keep us younger than we are. And I think this is part of being gay. I think it's a real plus of being gay.
I think that the fact that we are moving into a community of people, because as you get older, your friends, many of our friends have recently died, and now we are sort of alone in our own world, and this is going to put us back into a community of gay people, and I think that's going to be a very important aspect of the Fountaingrove Lodge experience.
Right, now since you've made this decision, you're one of the first depositors to take place in Fountaingrove. Have you had other people say, that's a great idea?
Yes, yes. Some people wonder why. Why are you doing this? You're too young, thank you. Why are you doing it so soon? Why are you doing it at all? But others say, this is a great idea. This is an idea that time has come. And the reactions vary. But I think a lot of people see in it the merits of what's happening here.
Right. When I was a teenager, my aunt moved into a facility like this, much different, in Richmond, Virginia, and she sold her house, this big old farm place that I spent my summers on, because she wanted to have independence, and she lived in her own apartment for about 12 years, and then as her health deteriorated, she had permanent care. Is that the same sort of idea here at Fountaingrove?
Yes. Very much so. In fact, Fountaingrove Lodge, as do many of the other Oakmont signature living communities, have what they call a memory care unit for people who now are in stages of Alzheimer or memory dementia. And so there's a step to when you can no longer really keep in your own place. So
Right.
I think, you know, they sort of plan these things very nicely.
So it must give you a sense of security.
Absolutely.
Well, you know what?
Absolutely.
I look forward to having you back on once you've moved in, but more to the point, I look forward to the invite for that first gay bar. Yeah, I'll be there.
That'll happen.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Okay.
We've been speaking with my friends, longtime friends and colleagues, Gary Gielow and Tom Shamp, about senior living at Fountaingrove in Northern California. I'm David Perry, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.